presentation, we're going to focus on the advising side of the house. And to give you a little bit of a historical context for the work that Ellen and I are doing and others, is this talking about student success at Georgia Tech is not a new idea. And in fact, that's been talked about for a while. Back in 2018, there was an advising task force who wanted to accomplish all these things. They wanted advising to be accessible. We wanted training and development for advisors, assessment, align it with career, common practices, centralized support. So this is something that has been talked about for a while. But I've pulled this quote out of the report because I think it's so telling. It said, there have been several Georgia Tech task forces, action teams, and ad hoc committees in recent past. A common criticism and concern is that there is a campus perception that recommendations languish unread and unimplemented. And that's exactly what happened. It's sort of a big lift to try to do all of these things in a decentralized institute, as many of you know in the work that you're doing. The technology that we did implement really did help us align with all of these great things that folks have been talking about wanting to do for a while. So what we wanted to accomplish is we wanted to make sure that every student at Georgia Tech has access to advising and to their advisor. Prior to implementing Navigate 360, it was hard to even identify who the advisors were across campus, and in a system that was hard for students to navigate, and more importantly, was hard for advisors to navigate. We want to be proactive in our work with students. We don't want to wait for students just to fall behind and then expect a student who's in crisis to come to us for help. We want to be able to be in the situation where we can see early signs of students not succeeding and have the technology that we need to identify and to refer, schedule all those things with those students. We want the support for students to be holistic. Not just something happens, great work happening here and great work happening here. We want to know the whole student story and want to be able to surround them with an ecosystem of student support. And one of the most important things, and I say this every time I do this presentation or one like this, is that the work here for advisors was really difficult. They did not have the technology that they needed. They were isolated. They weren't really supported centrally. So what that needed to really guide our work. And I know students are our top priority, but if we don't take care of the people who take care of students, then we can't have students as our top priority. So we wanted to make sure that improving work for advisors was certainly front and center. So as you know, or you may not know, there's different advising models across different institutes. Some will have a first-year advising model where all the first-year students go to a center. Some have a professional advisor assigned throughout a student's career. Some have first-year, second-year, third-year advising. But what we have at Georgia Tech is it's decentralized. The colleges handle advising how they want to. College of Sciences has faculty advisors. Scheller, College of Business, has professional advisors. So all different backgrounds and sort of methods for the way that they work. And it was not our goal to come here and centralize all advising. For Ellen and I to advise every student across Georgia Tech, that was not our goal. But what we wanted to do was to find some common ground. That's something that we could, as an advising community, could agree upon. We may do things differently in Scheller and College of Engineering, but we need to guarantee that every student can get the same experience from an advisor, a foundational experience from an advisor. So we didn't want to centralize. We were looking for common ground. And we also, lessons learned prior to coming here and doing the work that we've done, it seemed that other people made decisions for advisors as to what technology they were going to use. And that was not the best decision. So we reversed that. And this was a bottom-up approach. Our advising community has had voice from the beginning into the technology systems, our best practices, all the things. It's not Ellen and Lorett deciding for Georgia Tech. It's been a collaborative effort. So we knew that we couldn't just bring in a technology system, plug it in, and expect everybody to use it and have all the problems worked out with advising. So what we wanted to do is be very purposeful with selection and implementation of the technology to make sure that we had high adoption and ultimately more students would be served. So we developed a new vision and a strategy, and we created a roadmap for the way that we were going to implement the technology. So we had to really dig deep, and this was a lot of prep work before. And again, I think the last technology implementation, they got the technology and then decided to get buy-in and implement. And so we reversed that process. And so what we wanted to do was we wanted to equip the people. Those are the advisors or the other student success partners in this work. We wanted to equip those people. We want to figure out a way to streamline process, because if advisors are spending less time on process, they can spend more time serving students. And we all knew we had to improve the technology. Salesforce Advisor Link was what we had used before. And the wish list that advisors had from the beginning, from 2018, still wasn't satisfied up until just recently. So we knew that we needed to say goodbye to that system and find a new one. And the advisors were very much involved in selecting Navigate 360. So this was a little bit of our timeline, and we purposely shared this timeline with many, many partners across campus so that they know that it was coming. But the campus preparation piece, I think, was the most critical to the success of Navigate 360, and Ellen's going to share highlights of how successful that implementation has been. But I think without that campus preparation, I think we would not be where we are now, for sure. And of course, now graduate school is implementing Navigate 360. So, we started from the very beginning of, we are getting a new technology, but what's our vision for advising? What is our vision at Georgia Tech for student success? We are fortunate to have amazing first to second year retention rates, amazing 6 and 4 year graduation rates. And in fact, when I present at conferences and I show that to people, they almost gasp because they aspire to have what we have. But we decided that, all Georgia Tech students are important, and not every even high achieving student's journey is the same. And so we wanted to make sure that try to make these processes easier, leave the rigor in the classroom, make the other parts easy. So that kind of became our vision. So we took this as an opportunity. Let's improve the way we're doing things. Let's improve, how we document our interactions with our students. Let's, what are the things that we think every student should experience at Georgia Tech from their advisor. We decided in phase 3, when we did our data integration, our planning, our rollout, we decided to start with Scheller College of Business first because they agreed to do it. And secondly, I do admire them for some great advising that happens over there. So we were able to implement with Scheller on a smaller scale and kind of tweak things behind the scene rather than just full rollout all the way across campus and then trying to do damage control at that point. So Navigate 360 is the technology solution that we chose. It's, in my opinion, the leader in student success technology. But we did look at some other options, and this is the one that worked for Georgia Tech. So what do we get? These are some of the key features that advisors have been asking for a long time. And it's not a lot to ask to do a job well as an advisor. You need to be able to see the student's journey all in one place. So this dashboard, it was probably the biggest aha moment for advisors to see this all in one place, because before they would have to go to several places, even if they could go to the places to find it. But this is something Navigate 360 calls a gut check, where I can, let's say a student is coming for a drop-in appointment, I can pull this up real quickly and say, ooh, this student's in trouble. I noticed there's 8 DF grades, they've repeated 2 courses, their cumulative GPA is low, they're neuroscience major, so I can at the very beginning see, there's some things, the student has needs a high level of support. And when I can also pull down and look where those DF grades are. And if it's a neuroscience student and I'm looking at they're making Ds in neuroscience and they're failing math, this instantly tells me I need to refer the student to an exploratory advisor. This may not be a right fit major. But now with the technology, we are hopeful a student will never get to this point, that we will be able to intervene way earlier on when we miss that first success marker, that we'll be able to intervene proactively and get that student aligned with where they need to be. Another thing is we can see term details and we can also see their entire success team. So I am able to see who their advisors are, sometimes plural. I can see all of their faculty that are teaching them that semester, and I can contact them quickly if I need to. This is from fall 2025. I can see the student has a U grade in chemistry. So maybe I run a campaign for chemistry tutoring to tell them, here's the plus session for chemistry. Here's the drop-in feature. Here's NAC for chemistry. We have academic coaching for you. Exploratory advisor may say, it looks like you're struggling in chemistry. Maybe let's talk about some other majors that may align with your interest or your career goals. But this is for I know I get excited about this, but for an advisor, this is just gold. And then another key feature is I can see all the things that are happening with folks that are aligned with Navigate 360. So I can see this student came in, she said she's looking for advice on planning her schedule for the next few semesters and checking in on her pre-health in general. I'm looking forward to meeting with you. And I know she's just switched her major. She's looking at a bridge year. So let's pretend the student doesn't re-enroll. I can look back and say, oh, I know why. It's because she said that she was going to do a bridge year, and I can update that. Tutoring is the first time we've aligned tutoring with advising and our other student success partners. So I can say, oh, good for you. You went to chemistry tutoring, and I know that's something that you were really struggling with. It looks like you went to drop in twice. Good job. Kudos. I can send an email to her and know. Analytics, this is something that I've struggled with a little bit at Georgia Tech, is really kind of aligning the data points. And, the answer to student success work is not always another person, but is really aligning your resources strategically. So instead of doing X for all the students, I want to be able to narrow down populations and say, okay, this is a student on morning. They've already missed a success marker. We need to maybe put a hold on them. We need to require, I'm making all this up right now, but anyway, require an academic coaching appointment so we can really surround students who need the most amount of help and be strategic in the way that we align our resources. So these are the things that we can see: population health dashboard. Once we start doing interventions, we can see what those effectiveness are, different activity reports, student milestones, and these are things we have not had all in one place. If I want to dig deeper, I can look at all of these parameters too. I can narrow down to just about any kind of student that you can think of. And this integrates with Banner. So whatever fields are in Banner, I can pull here. I could say I want to look at all College of Engineering students that are a 2.0 to a 2.2 that transferred during this and are on academic warning. Well, they wouldn't be on warning if they had 2.2. But anyway, I can drill down so deeply, and directly from here, me, advisors, we can run campaigns, either appointment, messaging, or survey campaigns from this data. Reports, same thing. Advisors can run, and advising managers and academic leaders can run all sorts of different reports about their students. And I'm going to leave the best for Ellen Riley. So Ellen joined our team in March. We had been planning implementation, all the fun things that happen behind the scenes for a year. And Ellen was part of that core project team, part of that team that we relied on heavily to help us make decisions about the technology and about the vision for advising. And so this area is new-ish. The advising operations and engagement. I had another position that I repurposed, because one of the mistakes we made in the past with advising technology was that there was no one at point for the technology. So it seemed to be owned by many, and difference of opinions of how it should or shouldn't work. So we made sure that we had a team that would run point, that could support it, that would honor the vision, that would move forward with it, that would continue with the integration. And it's funny, the implementation is just the beginning, because there's so many features for Navigate 360 we have yet to even click on, because we want to make sure people adopt and understand. So Ellen Riley, Director of Advising Operations and Engagement. Russell Wallace, many of you know, works on the technology side, and Tara Baker helps us with, everything. So in Ellen's shop, of course, Navigate 360, advisor training and support, and advising best practices. So I will pass it to Ellen, and I'll click for you.
All right, thank you, Lorett. So as she mentioned, I have been here at Georgia Tech for a long time. I was actually an advisor and an advising manager in the College of Engineering for about 9.5 years prior to moving into this role. So I definitely feel privileged to be able to see some of these changes come about, having been one of the practitioners and one of the advisors that was working out there with my student population and doing the best work that we could, but with some real limitations in terms of the technology. So it's been exciting to be part of this new implementation. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit more about some of the specific uses of the platform for the advisors themselves, as well as touch on a little bit of these new features and things that we intend to roll out as we move through the remainder of this academic year and into future years as well. And then finally, I'll just kind of touch a little bit on the ways that we're supporting advisors with training, support, and setting up best practices and expectations. All right, so next slide. So just in case you were curious, we pulled the numbers for you. I think this was as of, I don't know, a couple weeks back when we had to submit our slides. So whatever day that was, this was our data as of that date of users in the system. So the unique student users, we were just shy of 12,000 students. So as a reminder, this platform currently is working with undergraduate students only, so we are not including the graduate students. They'll have their own platform coming soon. So this is a great number to hit after only a few months of having the system up and running. Students have accessed the platform through both the desktop website and also via the app. So the student app is a very robust feature that we've been excited to promote. This is also a brand new feature that students never had before in our prior system. So we definitely anticipate we'll continue to see increased usage of the app as more and more students become aware of it and become accustomed to the functionality and the ease of use that the app provides for them. There have been 175 roughly advisors and advising administrators, academic leadership, and partners in advising that have been onboarded and have profiles in Navigate 360 right now. And when I say that these individuals have been onboarded, by that I mean all of them have attended a 1-hour onboarding training session with learning outcomes designed to help get them started with the platform and begin getting their availability out and calendars set so that they can the students can access them as quickly as possible and they can really begin moving forward. There have been partners that we've brought in, as Lorett mentioned, our tutoring supports, athletic advisors, academic coaching, and even scholarship programs have been onboarded to provide access for those folks to meet with students. So far, actually, the number just is gone up even since we printed this slide. We're just about 13,000 appointments scheduled as of today. And appointment reports or appointment summary reports, we're pulling in just about 8,300. So ideally, in Lorett and Ellen's ideal world, every single student appointment that's scheduled will also have an accompanying appointment report. That's the goal. And as of right now, we're very pleased actually with the utilization of the advising community of these reports and being able to provide that consistency across the board. I don't know how many advisors really fully stopped out of using the prior system, but I do know that there was not 100% of the advising community available to be scheduled with via that platform. And I know for certain that we can say every single undergraduate student currently enrolled at Georgia Tech can access an academic advising unit via the Navigate 360 as it stands right now. All right, next slide. So throughout this fall, we've been primarily seeing that the advising units and within the colleges and schools, the academic advisors are utilizing this for their appointment scheduling and their summary reports. This platform is also very easily synced up with Outlook, and so that has been extremely beneficial for particularly those advisors who have many other responsibilities. So for example, in our College of Sciences, academic professionals serve as the academic advisors. So they are also teaching, they are running labs, and they have any other responsibilities. Their advising calendars, therefore, have to be pretty flexible. Calendar Sync allows for real-time information to be flowing back and forth. So if I have advising appointments, usually on Monday mornings, but Lorett has put an appointment on my calendar, an important meeting, that will block out students from being able to select one of those times. But the following week, back to usual, I have my Monday morning appointments open and it all goes along. It will also let advisors know when they have students booked with them by sending out information via Outlook. We've talked about campaigns a little bit. Campaigns are, again, functionality that the system is very robust and allows for. So a campaign can include any number of students, really, upwards of thousands of students. The parameters of a campaign are set up by the advisor and would be determined by either, do you want the student to take an action, i.e. schedule an advising appointment, or do you want this to be a message that you're sending out to the student, just an informational message? Or do you want the student to provide some sort of survey results to us? So the campaigns can be set, they can be, and they are automated. Advisors have a dashboard that allows them to see exactly at all times, percent completed, number of students who've yet to take action, let's say on the appointment campaigns. They can send reminders and nudges. It's a very robust system, and it's been utilized very well so far. And I've seen that the explosion, I guess I would say, of the campaigns showing up in our system that the advisors are building. So very excited about this function. There are reports that are available out of Navigate for advising managers in particular. This is an extremely useful tool because it allows them to see at a glance all of the appointments happening within their unit. Now, some advising managers or directors have a large number of direct reports, upwards of 10, 15, sometimes more. Some are smaller, but regardless, the reporting functionality is there. So an advising manager is able to quickly pull that data, take a look and see where the student population sort of is trending. Are there a lot of lack of utilization of appointments on certain days of the week, for example? Do we see that we have filled up capacity up to 2 weeks in advance? Do we need to extend how far into the future a student can schedule a meeting? All of those are very easily accessible by the managers and can really lead to immediate and very helpful changes in time, so that those advisors are going to be able to make the best use of their time, and the students are going to be able to access them as much as we can possibly have that happen. Another very exciting feature we have just recently, as Lorett said, turned on. We turn on a lot of things as we go along here. Our Canvas integration. This has been a partnership with a registrar's office, with academic leadership, Larry Jacobs and Stephen Gerardo and others who have really supported allowing for integration of Canvas data to come in to Navigate. And what advisors are able to see in real time is a student's most recent login to Canvas, so by date and time, as well as their status on any assignments that are in the Canvas site for the courses the student is enrolled in. So if I'm an advisor and I have a student coming in to meet with me, and I immediately can tell they have not logged into Canvas for a period of 7 days, 10 days, this is an immediate red flag. We're able to make quick use of that data and make sure that students are being redirected. This is also searchable. So for these reports, as a manager, I can search. Show me all the students in my major that haven't logged into Canvas in the last 5 days, 3 days. And this is just so much beyond the functionality that we've had before that it's really exciting for folks. And we're beginning to start to see more and more integration of that use in the advising appointments as well. It just keeps getting better. Everything that we've listed so far, I think these are pretty much like initially, especially the appointment scheduling and the advising summary reports. Frankly, if we just had 100% compliance of advisors on the system and making advising reports for the students to review later and for our records later, that would have been a success in itself. But we're moving so much further past that. The student profile agent is the most recent feature that we have turned on. This is an AI feature that will quickly summarize a student's profile and or students' previous advising notes and reports. For some students, that could be a list of 10 to 12, maybe more records within their page. And while those are still accessible and advisors can go in and individually look at those, this profile agent allows for a very concise description of the student's progress to date with whatever question or prompt the advisor would like to use. It's been a fun new feature for us to work with. And we know in particular going forward, this is an even more strong reason why we want to encourage the use of the advising summary reports, because in the future now we can know that this bot will be able to take a look at all of that information and make quick and meaningful updates for those advisors in the moment. For those of you who don't have, are not advisors, which I think most of those folks on this call are probably not. It's not uncommon for advisors to have 6, 7, 8, maybe more student interactions in a day. And that's a lot of students to work with. And that's a lot of information to try to summarize quickly in our minds before we meet with that next student. So tools like these, the Canvas integration, the profile agent, I mean, it's just such a time saver that we're going to be able to spend more of the time that we have allocated with that individual student, talking, listening, and redirecting them when necessary in ways that we had to sort of take away from that time in the past just to like read through all these summaries or try to remember what happened with that student before. So we will be moving forward with these last 3 bullets, trying to, right now, piloting something which we call event tracking, which will allow advisors and units to basically use the system as an RSVP for events within their schools or colleges. And then that information can be tracked and subsequent follow-ups sent and so forth. So we're piloting that this ended this fall semester. And then these last 2, predicted support level and the missed success marker. We have these now currently in our training site. We are continuing to work with these features to make sure that they're going to be as functional as possible. I think Lorett alluded to this briefly earlier. Predicted support level is part of our historical data analytics that came from the company EAB, where we purchased this product. They're providing basically a anticipated support level for all students, and that will be a function that advisors and advising managers are able to be proactively searching for students who may have what we consider a high prediction of needing support in order to be successful here. The way that they might be in that high support level could have something to do with their degree program, their admission type, transfer versus freshman, maybe their high school GPA, test scores, or also potentially even just their high school itself. And this is looking at 10 years worth of data of Georgia Tech students specifically to give us this prediction. And then finally, our missed success markers. These are individual courses designated by major that are key to a student's progression and to reach a four-year graduation. And so missed success marker field on the student profile immediately gives the advisor some key information from the very first glance that this student may be behind. And we have been working with our partners in the schools and colleges to further refine and identify the courses that they would like to have considered in this system so that we can really have a good partnership there, and we can know when these students have missed a success marker, have not completed the first calculus course by 30 credit hours or 45 credit hours, they are already off track and not likely to graduate in the four-year timeline that we would like to see. And this gives the advisors immediate information where we can reach out and begin to start mitigating some of that as quickly as possible. That type of data just was not available. The most robust sort of people that love to pull things out of Tableau and Light still would not have been able to easily give us a full list of tell me every student in this degree who has failed to take this particular course by a certain credit hour. They probably could have gotten to that data eventually, but the ease and ability to see this quickly is what's really remarkable here. All right, next slide. Right. So if that wasn't enough, that we have lots of other things coming in the next couple of semesters. In particular, a really big feature that we're hoping to move forward in the spring of 2026 is to move our midterm progress report grade functionality into Navigate 360 for the Georgia Tech faculty who teach 1 in 2000 level courses. So if you may know, this is currently a function that sort of lives inside of Oscar, but the reports are static and we have to pull those out and then take action. Where in the Navigate platform, if a faculty member enters a progress report grade, we can have automation set up to immediately send information to students related to the tutoring availability, related to coaching, related to their advisors' calendar, if that's appropriate. And so this is a really exciting improvement we hope to see getting launched for spring. We've already talked a lot about sort of the way we're going to try to use our data analytics, but we're also moving ahead with setting and establishing some reports for academic leadership. So our associate deans, our school chairs, associate chairs, to also be able to pull data out of Navigate as they would like to get some additional information. So we'll be moving towards full onboarding for that cohort throughout the spring of 26. We'll also be building in partnership with other offices here outside of just academic success and advising, working towards building what we call journeys. Journeys are milestones that students will be able to check off and say that they've met towards the completion of any number of things. So a few examples here, students working towards the distinction in the Leaders in Progress and Service, QEP designation, co-op and internships, and even new student orientation can be a journey. The journeys are attached to a student's profile, and advisors can assign those journeys to a student, or a student can assign themselves to a journey. Again, it allows us for some more automation and keeping track with where that student is in real time with their particular goals. And some of this is outside of the academic realm and more the co-curricular realm, but that's also a big piece of what academic advisors talk about in those meetings. And so this is a really exciting innovation for us. As we move forward, there are even more robust alert features. This is complemented as well by, and the platform, by something called a hand raise, which is a student initiated alert on themselves. I need help, raise my hand, I need assistance. The alerts will be a functionality for faculty outside of that progress report window to initiate a case opening and an advisor or advising manager taking action to help a student who may be in need. We know the faculty often, of course, are on the front line, and they are seeing the students much more frequently than the advisors are. And so being able to partner with them to build this better support network and more immediate assistance going to the student is a really exciting function, and we're looking forward to that. As always, everything's moving towards this, so there will be a student chat bot as well that we're building. We will be building slowly to ensure that we have the correct information as you pull stuff from the Georgia Tech website. We need to make sure all those websites are accurate and up to date before we really launch this. But this has been a very successful tool, for example, that our colleagues down the street at Georgia State University have used extremely well to have access for students to ask questions and get information at key times that that student wants it. So outside of the key 8 to 5 timeline is not, that's really when most students are going to want to ask questions. And so that functionality will allow for us to expand even further into our access. And our friend Elizabeth is going to be launching the graduate platform for Navigate 360 by fall as well. So by this time next year, I expect, you could say that every student at the Institute is going to have access for many of these features, and really, truly, the experience for them and for the advisors is just transformed so tremendously from where we started. All right, I think next slide. I mentioned I was going to touch on this just briefly. It's very important with any new technology source that you do have buy-in by the users. There was a lack of that, just difficulties with implementation of the prior platform that led to there being a lack of use, people being confused and really just kind of not participating. That was not acceptable. And so we're very proud to have had 100% compliance with onboarding for this platform. In other words, every advisor who works with undergraduate students in the schools, colleges, and majors has gone through this onboarding training, has also signed a best practices agreement in which they agree to use the platform, to use the calendar sync, and to provide availability for their students. That might not seem that big of a deal, but it actually is really game changing for us to know that regardless of your major, regardless of your college, that you as a student have access to your advisor. And that has never been something we could say in certainty before, right? We sort of suspect and we think, yes, but this way we know for certain that these availabilities are there. We have continued to provide trainings both in person and virtually for the advising community on multiple topics. And we've also developed a Canvas page where we're saving and recording instructional guides, video content, and other material for the advising community as a whole to refer back and have some assistance in making sure they're using this platform to its full advantage. And then final slide, I think, just to touch on, we'll also, through our office, be coordinating a advising lifecycle project that's already underway, and we're working with that core project team that we referenced earlier, as well as the communication consultant, one of our advising leaders here on campus. And this is going to allow us to have a common set of outcomes. Approaches can vary across the different schools, but we'll have a set of templates within Navigate. So for an example, school is about to begin and it's time to send out a message to your incoming student population. There'll be templates and campaigns available for advisors to quickly pull in and use without taking tons of time out of their very busy day where they're already doing lots of student meetings as well. And then we'll be continuing to partner, of course, with our registrar's office as they help us with new advisor trainings, bringing on new people and making sure we have technology policies and trainings for those that are consistent and that are allowing everyone to be on the same page and have the same set of supports. Centralized support is really, really key, and that's something we're taking seriously with this platform. So I believe we have reached the end of our formal slides here. And so at this point, I guess I'll say, turn it back over to Lorett for some final thoughts.
Yeah, I think, you know, as everyone knows, technology is powerful, but I discovered that the implementation is the part that's so important. The preparation for the technology was the win for us to have the adoption and the success that we've had at this point. But I'd love, if y'all have any questions for us, we would love to help answer them. I'm looking in
Looks
the
like
chat.
there's a few questions.
Oh, that's
a
from
different
earlier
set.
today. This doesn't make any sense at all.
Yes. Well, if you have questions, if you want to put them in the chat, that's fine.
And I do want to say, if there are any partners on here who helped us, you know, from the registrar's office to technology, cybersecurity, our learning management system, I don't think there's a single area across campus that didn't support us in this work and knew that this was important for advisors and students.